if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat and we'll answer them as we go along. So can you see my screen, Lynn?
Yes.
All right. I'll let you lead the way and I'll more than happy to click for you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Lynn Gall with the Department of Health Services. So I was just saying, this is a webinar today to talk about the annual mid-year report that will be due for the 2026 year. We're looking at the beginning of January through mid-year. We're doing this now on a regular basis mid-year instead of waiting till the year end because we realized that there were some discrepancies between fiscal reporting and the year-end reports that we have that come into me at the end of the year. So what's being reported in expenses, either on expense reports or into the gear system to the state, they're not matching up as well as they could. And that's hard for us to explain. So we're hoping this mid-year report is one way we can kind of look at that mid-year before we get all the way to the end and try to have to figure out what's happening. So today I'll be joined by Carrie and Bryn from GWAR. You should be familiar with them, and we'll just talk about a few things here and give you a chance to ask questions as well. We want to give you any feedback or questions, answer any questions you may have. As I said, this is going to be for the fiscal expenditures from January 1st of this year through June 30th. It's to provide both Bader and GWAR with this review information. We're doing this review together, which is really a good thing. It's kind of strange because I know some of you are in the state county contract, some of you get your AFCSP money through GWAR. So we're doing this in a way that it doesn't matter where you get your money from, which kind of contract you're on. The reporting process is going to be the same, and we're going to combine them, compare and contrast, so that we're all doing the same thing, no matter where your money comes from. The deadline for the submission is August 5th, and that form should be sent over to Carrie Kretz at GWAR at fiscal@gwar.org. That's for both if you're contracting on the state county contract or on a GWAR contract. We just want them all going to the same place. Feel free to CC me or let me know if you have questions. But the final report, please do send those over to Carrie, and I guess you can let me know too. Then I know that they're in. And also, as a reminder, we also want to let you know, remind you that all AFCSP services are required now to be entered into PeerPlace, along with the needs assessment, the initial evaluation, and the post-evaluation. Before it was, you can put AFCSP into SAMS if you wanted, but with PeerPlace, we're really using that as the collection portal now for services provided through AFCSP. And it'll let you do your match up too. If you're using AFCSP as match for Title III-E, you can also do that in PeerPlace. So if you have any questions about that, let us know afterward. Next slide, please.
Just to clarify the evaluation and stuff, that has replaced REDCap now, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and I think I was just on the GWAR PeerPlace, or sorry, I'm looking at the word PeerPlace on the slide on the GWAR SharePoint, and I think I saw there's still a tab on there that says Access REDCap or something. So if you see that, you shouldn't be putting anything into REDCap anymore. I'm assuming most of the people you were serving that started in REDCap, they're probably either not on the program anymore, or there should be very, very few of them. So all of your services now, please put them into PeerPlace. Then they're all in one place, again, bringing everybody together, and we have everything in one place. So let us know if you have any questions about that too, but it's all set up and in there for you to just go ahead and start entering.
Thank you, and I'll make sure to get that REDCap thing removed.
Okay, thanks. Carrie, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So we have a few examples here of the forms that you'll be completing. The first one is just first couple slides are just snippets. If your contract is with GUAR, in which case this will make things quite easy because, and I also do have the forms pulled up, so we'll be pulling those up as well. But basically your information will automatically flow in from from what you choose as the agency, from your allocation, your contact information will all display along with the expenses that you now line item report on. So the areas in the gray will come directly over from the claim form. The area in the yellow regarding how much of the total cost, if any, is related to a new or expanded service, you will have to complete that. And keep in mind that the money that's in the yellow area has already been reported between the two gray areas, right? So if you claimed that you've already spent $5,000, for example, in homemaker services, the yellow section shouldn't be more than $5,000 because it's a part of what you've already reported. So it shouldn't be like, hey, we've expanded our program and spent $10,000 already. You're going to get an error marker on that because that should have been reported within the claim form itself. On the second slide here this is the lower half of the form. And once again, it has the other direct services that related. The yellow section is also where you'd put in the, expanded or new service expenses. And then below that, it does watch for certain things like, are you within the 10% allowed amount for program administration, and to ensure that you are spending at least 40% of your funds on respite care services. This is an exemption for the tribes, however. But once again, we don't expect you to be at 40% by June, but it's just kind of reminding you about the requirement and so forth. Additionally, on the far right side, we have also provided an area where you're able to enter in your units of service from Pure Place. Now, it's not required to put on this form, but it is, it's there for two purposes. One, as a reminder that you must be entering in your services into Pure Place. The second is, of course, that if you do enter them in there, you are able to see, for example, what are you telling Lynn, for example, it's costing you per hour for case management. As it's being related out and we're reviewing this information. The next slide is the form that you would complete if you are a direct contractee with the state, with Bader. And so on this one, you do have a little bit more data entering to do. So basically any of the yellow areas you will be entering into, such as your agency, what is your allocation for this year, the contact information, the actual expenses related, the new or expanded services, and once again, if you'd like the to enter in the Pure Place information, which is not required, but it is nice to enter in. I did see something about if anybody is freezing up. I have not heard anything on that. I will turn my camera down. That will help as well. But once again, just a reminder about Pure Place as far as, having to enter in the services, but it's not required to put on this report, just to be clear on that. And then the same thing for the lower section of this form, where you have your case management, your other goods, public awareness, and so forth. And we just kind of put in some examples here, but just to show kind of, the program administration is at 4% right now, and we're saying, oh, okay, we're under the 10%. You're at 30% for respite care. And once again, just a reminder that you're supposed to be at 40% or more by the final submission. And you do see here, there's an error that's actually above, it's not in the screenshot here, where we said we've spent 3,400, but in the new or expanded expenses, we've said, oh, we've spent 5,000. Well, we can't be more than what we reported in the other two columns. So that's an error there. And then just some basic instructions as far as, fill your information within the yellow cells. Within the I column, that's where you can enter in your new or expanded service expenses. And then within the Pure Play section, you're able to enter in those services if you would like as well. We did include in this PowerPoint, and we will post this out on our GUAR SharePoint site, and Lynn can share it out as well. But we did include like some basic definitions of certain fields and what you should be entering in or what they refer to. So that is also on our PowerPoint here. And basically, I do want to pull up before Bryn goes into her other spiel, just kind of showing you as an example. This is just an example of somebody's claim form filled out, and you can see how the information is automatically pulling over directly from her claim or from their claim, and so forth. So this is just an example. And
Right. I think one other thing I just want to point out is if you're on a state county contract, obviously this isn't going to autofill because you're not filling out the GUAR claim forms. So you're going to need to put these numbers all in by yourself. So
correct.
it's a little bit more work if you're on the state county contracts, it won't autofill, but it's going to look exactly the same.
Yeah, so here's the one for the state. So as an example, and I don't know who's on your account just off the top of my head, but me. And let's just say they get $10,000. And so as you continue to, you complete this, whatever my email and whatever my phone number is, and then you can easily put in, oh, well, I've spent, let's say 1,200 here. And then maybe I spent another 5,000 down here and so forth and so on. And as we were kind of talking about earlier, if you put in more than has been allocated under new or expanded services, so here if I put in 6,000, I'm going to get an error marker on that. And then it does come down here and it lets us know that, your admin cannot exceed the 10% of the contract. And here again, it's also letting us know that we're at or above the 50% per policy, but we are getting this other error that we've over-reported how much we've actually added. If we have put $6,000 in, it's possible that it's been in what we would refer to as cash match or local funds, right? And so maybe our true cost is really $11,000 for our in-home general, and 6,000 of that, roughly give or take, or what if it was I don't know, 7,000, let's just say 7,000 of that was to expand that program. So you can kind of see how this all works together. And then of course there is also a section for everybody for the comments, to be, if there's anything you want to comment back to us on.
Do we have any questions on that before we move on to the next thing? I did put an email in there if you haven't received the separate state county form from me for some reason. If you didn't get that email from me last week, please send me a message and I will make sure you get that form. But if you have any questions about it, this is the time. And I think there was one question also in the in the email. Let's see. Right now, I asked for Title III. I asked for the Title III summary report for my claim form. Which report should I ask for to fill out Pure Place for this?
I did make a comment on that, Lynn. So
Okay.
basically that is the correct report, or well, yeah, the served client summary would be the report you ask for. And that's if they are entering in the information into Pure Place. If they're not, and they should be, you might need to have them reach out to us to gain better instruction on how to make sure that data is being entered into the system for the AFCSP information.
Okay.
The second one, it might be more for you, Lynn, as far as, Rusk County.
Yeah, I'm looking, I was hoping I could get a quick, let me just look that up. I would think I would have them all memorized, but I don't.
I know, right?
Okay, let's see here. Rusk, you are on the state county contract, so you would need that from me. So if you wouldn't mind sending me an email so that after this I can just follow up and reply with the format, I can get it to you. And if you have any questions, we can talk about it too. Um,
Yeah, the next question about the cash match issue, I just said send it to us and we can check it over. Yeah, Laura, the reason you don't see it on your May-June claim form is because your contract is not with GUAR. So you're gonna have to make sure that you get that other report, which is out on the GUAR SharePoint site. And I believe Lynn did send it out as well, but you'll have to get the other form that will allow you to do it. I don't know who did it before for you guys. It's something new. We just started it last year. So hate to say it, there's a slim possibility that we didn't get it from your agency.
If you happen to have the link to that on your site, Carrie, maybe sticking that in the, do you
Sure,
have it
let me
handy by chance?
find it here.
Maybe you could put that in the chat and then people can just click on it from here.
So where you're gonna find it too, should be if I put it out here. I think I did. Oh, now I question myself sometimes. Oh yeah, here it is. So out on our fiscal resources site, for GUAR, it's gonna be under the claims section and it's the AFCSP mid-year report state contracts. So here again, if you have your contract with GUAR, it will happen automatically. You will not fill this out. But if your contract is directly with the state, then you'll have to download and fill this form out. And keep in mind, you do need access to the GUAR SharePoint site. You can sign up for that if you ever need to under our website under the About section. Question came up, new to this role, did I hear our DCS needs to enter in all needs assessment, pre-eval and post-evals into Peer Place? If your DCS is the person doing your AFCSP role, then yes, they will have to do not only the needs assessment, but they have to enter it into the AFCSP side, not the DCS side. If they are a dual split role, you'll want to make sure that they reach out to us for training on how to do aging, because it is very different than the DCS does their data entry.
Gary, just want to make sure you saw the question about NFCSP match.
Oh, NFCSP match. Oh, having to pull the data?
Yes.
Yes, correct. Thank you. Will we need to add the NFCSP as match to the AFCSP data to basically to get correct numbers in the form? And yes, you would. So you'd have to, grab that funding source within Peer Place and incorporate those service units, add that into the AFCSP service units to get the full correct numbers? Good question. And Lynn, Bryn, did you want to, I've got your promo here.
My promo. Yeah, so I was thinking about this process if I were a county that contracts for AFCSP services with DHS. I think there probably was some administrative benefit to that as far as maybe not having to do the reporting as frequently as GWAR requests it. And as Lynn says, I'm making a pitch to kind of steal the counties, and that's really not it. You are free to contract as a county with GWAR or DHS. However, now that this is becoming a requirement, even if you contract with DHS, I just wanted to point out that there's some benefits in contracting with GWAR. So firstly, you heard that the GWAR claims form, if you complete that for AFCSP every month, that auto-populates into this mid and then the end of year report for AFCSP. So there isn't that kind of additional step that you would have to take if you were contracting with GWAR for AFCSP. And then the second and probably the biggest thing is that when we're working with both NF and AFCSP dollars, GWAR has the ability to be very flexible as far as reallocating funds into early of the next year, where that's not necessarily the case with DHS. There's only so much time that they have as the end of the year approaches for them to reallocate those AFCSP funds. An example was we had over 200,000 from last year, 2025, in NFCSP, and we were able to do a small project and able to give that money to counties who had a demonstrated program and financial record to use that additional fund. So we had several counties that received up to $20,000 to make sure that the unspent funds from last year get spent this year. And there's the possibility we can do that with any unspent AFCSP funds. But again, you need to contract with GWAR in order to benefit from those reallocations. So I just wanted to point out that there's a potential if you were to have questions about how to contract with GWAR, and try and figure out if that would meet your caregiver demand. Does that potentially at the end of the year, if you're able to receive more AFCSP funds, does that reduce the county levy tax dollars you use, or if you've used other sources of funding? And I probably should have created a second slide, but I just didn't want to take too much time because this is really about the mid-year report. But it's straightforward, but it's a very simple process. And I included that process on our FAQ document, and I'll see if I can. Here's the FAQ document link that's in the chat. And the very last question that I added under programs is related to how a county or tribe, if they're interested, would want to change from their contract to GWAR from DHS.
You're muted, Bu.
Thank you. I don't know how I did that. So yes, there's that quick FAQ, a summary in the chat to explain that, it's a matter of notifying DHS that your county board or your tribal governing body has signed a resolution authorizing DHS to make that change. It has to, in a written formal request, is an email to Lynn for the agency to make that request to transition. And then generally speaking, it would take place the next contract year. So if you wanted to make that transition, you could do that now. And then starting January 2027, you would be able to contract with GWAR. So that's my ploy, my speech, my speech, my pitch. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or I think Lynn would probably be a really good person as well related to this topic. I don't know if you guys can come off of mute, but if you have questions or feedback, please throw it in the chat. Gary and Lynn, I think that's all I have was just that one slide.
Very powerful slide.
It
Yeah,
is, it
thank you.
is. And I think when we saw the change with the AFCSP admin code, that was some of the question that was asked to us when myself and others from Alzheimer's Association and Janet Zander went to testify was, how come counties aren't able to use the full AFCSP allotment? And the answer varies. It could be anything from they don't have enough people who at the time financially qualified. And then there's also admin. You know, if you have staffing shortages or you don't have somebody running the program for a number of months in a year, that can also disrupt the flow of the money out the door. But if we can prove we're demonstrating an effectiveness to utilize all these funds by reallocating them every year, anything that hasn't been spent, that certainly does nothing to harm our future advocacy and policy efforts around the state program. So just a little plug there.
Yeah, and I'll make a little plug from the state too, because, it's frustrating. If you're on the state county contract, you know that we'll ask for you to say, okay, will you deobligate some funds this year if you know you're not going to spend those? But we generally need to know that by October, at the very latest, and then to have time to do the deobligation and reobligation of the funds before the end of the year. And that takes a lot of time within our department, whereas because GWAR's a AAA, then they can move money around a little easier. They don't have to take the money off every single contract the way we do through the state process, which just takes time to process it. They're a little more nimble when it comes to this. And so that's the one thing that, because otherwise, if you don't spend the money that's on your state county contract, it just goes right back into the state's general fund. There is no, we can carry it over, other than you get your automatic 3% carryover. We can't do anything to get those funds back to you once after October. Basically, if we don't do it by October, November, it's not going to happen. And GWAR can do that well into December. So that's just another, I'm not telling you to get off the state county contract, but I'm just, if you regularly don't spend all your funds, or you regularly need additional funds, it might be to your benefit to do that. So I'd be happy to talk about it more at another meeting.
And like you said, even if they don't spend all their money, if they did come to us, we can more easily redistribute it then too, instead of it having just go back into the coffers and disappear. The other thing I wanted to mention too is, just as a reminder, on the claim form, if you are, with GWAR, of course, but on the claim form, you have to show us beyond the contract dollars that you've spent. So as an example, if your contract was for $10,000 and you guys have already spent $15,000, so let's say another $5,000 in what we would call cash match, even though there is no match requirement, but that's where we want you to put the funds, because if they're like tax levy or tribal funds, that is a requirement to even ask for money, because you have to show us that you actually spent it, to make sure that what we're giving you is not just extra money, but it's money that you've already incurred the costs on. The other thing that also comes up is two questions in regards to reob deob not transfers, but reob deob funds. Is the first question is, how much money could you use, for example, for expenses already incurred and paid for on the claim form? So they're already on the claim form. The second question we've now started asking is, how much money could you use for expenses that haven't been paid for and won't be paid for if you do not receive additional funds? So something along those lines could be, you know, you get $10,000 in the contract and maybe locally your agency is only going to give you another 2 grand. And so you've had participants submit additional invoices with their knowledge that their only way you may be able to pay them is if you get additional funding. But by having those invoices and then submitting that to us saying, hey, we could really use another $2,000 to pay these unpaid invoices because we don't have the funds to literally pay them. That is a secondary question, and that's an area we're really looking at a lot, is those expenses that aren't paid and would not be paid unless you received additional funding. So just to be aware of that as the process comes up a little bit more towards the end of the year, as Lynn mentioned, for GWAR and so forth. But just remember, if you're a part of GWAR and you're going to ask for more money, we have to see that the expenses have already been incurred, or that you do ask, um, or on the request for additional funds, that you do let us know that their expenses that won't be paid unless you get additional money. And of course,
you.
if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to us, and we'll walk you through any of the, forms and so forth. Never a problem.
Hey, Carrie,
And if
see,
you are,
there's a
yeah,
question from someone asking you to review column C on the GWAR mid-year report.
yeah, I see that. So we'll have to look at that. It might be something that as you send it in, we might have to just fix it without updating the current claim that's out there.
Okay.
You know how it goes. We test everything and yet you guys, I don't know, find a way to find another issue with a formula we've created.
Okay, so again, August 5th is the date that those are due. That's a Wednesday, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes, it's Wednesday. So please get those into that GWAR fiscal address. Can you go back to that in the beginning, just in the slides, just so people have it? Make sure that that's where you're sending your report. Here you go, fiscal@gwar.org. And feel free to CC me if you like, but you don't have to. If we don't hear from you, we'll probably be giving you a call. So just to let you know that.
Wonderful. Well, I guess thank you, everybody. And thank you, Lynn and Bryn, for hosting this with me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, and everybody stay cool out there and safe until this heat is over. And did I hear that a tornado touched down in Menasha? Is that near you,
Yes.
Bryn?
Yes, it was. Yes,
Mm.
it was a little bit of a scary lunch hour.